Peacemaker Season 1 stars John Cena, Danielle Brooks, Freddie Stroma, and Jennifer Holland. Picking up where the Suicide Squad left off, Peacemaker returns home after recovering from his encounter with Bloodsport, only to discover that his freedom comes at a price. Now today's a special review. This is no ordinary review. I decided to bring on a special guest. Chris, how you doing today?
Doing great. Thank you for having me on. I'm real excited to talk about this show. I feel like it's one of the most underrated shows ever. Like, I don't know if you agree, but it's crazy.
Really? Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it might take a little while to see if it's underrated, but I agree with you. I love it. It's been a blast watching it. Just your overall thoughts on it. What do you think about the show?
I love it. And, I've loved it every single week. I think James Gunn is just a mastermind right now, especially in the comic book genre. And I really am satisfied with the way the show ended. Like, for me, a season needs to stick the landing for it to really have a long-lasting impact. Like, I can enjoy every episode leading up to the finale, but if the finale is a miss, the show might not be as good overall looking back on it. But I really think they hit a home run with the finale. And I know we're going to talk about it here in a second, but very satisfied with the show.
Yes, I completely agree with you. The first thing I want to start off is the opening credits. Give me your thoughts on the opening credits alone.
So I'll be honest with you, the first time I watched it, I was like, all right, this is kind of stupid. I don't really know if I need to watch this every time. And then every single episode and every time I saw a clip of it on TikTok or like Instagram Reels, I would just want to watch it. And by the end, like, I kind of want to learn the choreography now. Like, I love it. It's so unique,
It is something that it's like unlike anything I've ever seen before. It's incredible. I have never skipped I usually skip theme songs. I mean, in TV shows and stuff like that. But this one I've never skipped. Never skipped it once.
No skips.
And I just start singing along. It's just it's crazy. I never thought I'd say this, but John Cena is perfect as Peacemaker. I've been kind of hot and cold on John Cena. I've never really thought of him as like this really good actor, but and as Peacemaker, he is like fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. And, I'm kind of right there with you. He's just hot and cold. Like, I always viewed him as like this goofy WWE guy. Like, you can't see me. And like his theme song's iconic in WWE. But I never really bought into him as an actor until the Suicide Squad, which I actually have the poster right behind me. He really sold me there. I think he's like the standout character in that. And the show 100% built on that, because there are moments in the show where John Cena like moved me to tears. It was just beautiful acting by John Cena. And I never thought I'd be saying those two things in the same sentence, but he could keep it up like this and he might get like awards consideration at the Emmys, maybe down the road. We'll see. But I love what he did here. And I feel like James Gunn just knows the character so well. And like his writing matched with John Cena's acting, it's like a match made in heaven, I would say.
Do you think that John Cena is like in the same talk as like a Rock? Like, do you think he'll make his way up, or do you think he's there?
I think he's not there because The Rock's like social media presence is insane. But I think that if John Cena gets the right role in movies, he could reach that level of stardom. Because I feel like the movies John Cena's in are usually like these cheesy comedies, whereas The Rock gets these mega action movies. Yeah. Now I know Cena was in like Fast 9, which I actually never saw, but his role as Peacemaker could take him to some places for sure.
Yeah. Have you seen his Instagram? It is absolutely absurd.
Yeah, I follow it, and it's like I sometimes think it's like a spam page because it's just these random pictures like from 1980. Like it's crazy.
Insane. I don't know where he gets it. All right, I think I want to talk about a small issue I have with the show, and that's the comedy and the writing. What are your thoughts on the jokes? Because I feel like James Gunn, he has a tendency to like, there'll be like a really heartfelt moment and it'll be like a quick cut back to like a joke, specifically with Vigilante. I felt. What are your thoughts on the writing and the jokes, stuff like that?
At times it got annoying to me. Like, I definitely see some of the complaints because there would be dramatic moments, or they'd be like plotting their next mission or their next step, and they would have an exchange with like Vigilante where he would continue on for like 5 minutes, and they would just keep going back and forth, and the jokes could overextend their stay. And it reminded me a lot of what they do with Drax in Guardians 2. Like, it very much felt the same way, where a character would just keep going on and the comedy wouldn't hit every time. Overall, I thought the show was pretty funny, and I think they did a good job blending it. But there was a few moments in particular where it got irritating. Like, I think it was episode 5 or 6 where John Cena's character, like, he kept naming a bunch of celebrities of people that he could have like rescued or something like that. And that got a little bit irritating, but it was still funny at the same time. So it's kind of like, it's a tough call.
Speaking of Vigilante, I saw someone compare him to like Ryan Reynolds. What do you think about that actor? I think his name is like Freddie Stroma. I think it's him. I think this.
I believe so. Yeah, that's his name. I think he's in like Pitch Perfect briefly. He's the dude that works at the radio station. Yeah, it's crazy. But I think he's really good in the role. I think the character is a little overhyped. Like I know a lot of people love Vigilante. I like him a lot too. He's not my favorite in the show. He's not as funny as I think I would want him to be for me personally. His style of humor can get a little stale, but I think the actor does a really good job. And the thing I love about his character is how he's just so dumb. And it's like but it's a dumb love in a way where you can like appreciate it. And then his banter with Peacemaker is always great because Peacemaker is this goofy dude who can be, you know, kind of dumb at times and a little airheaded. But compared to Vigilante, he looks like a genius, you know? So they have that nice dynamic and their friendship develops throughout the show. Especially we see it in the finale. There's some cool moments with them.
Who's your favorite character of the show, would you say?
It's generic, but it's got to be Peacemaker. I know that like it's oh man, you picked the title character, but he's just my favorite by far, just because of how far he's come from the Suicide Squad.
That's true. I got to say a big standout was Adebayo. That actress was really good, I thought. And then James Gunn's partner, I don't know if they're married, but Jennifer Holland, I thought she was excellent as what's her name?
Harcourt, yeah,
Harcourt. Mm-hmm. She was really good. And he basically cast her in all of his movies, but I thought she was really good. All right, so the moral conflict or the moral values within Peacemaker, I thought that was a big standout. How he continues to stay, and he has these, he has conflicting thoughts because as the show goes on, and I'm pretty sure it's episode 3 where he has to shoot the kids and stuff like that, and he can't, and then Vigilante comes in. I just thought that was I think James Gunn does a really good job of writing these characters. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting because Peacemaker, I saw an interview with James Gunn where he said, leading into the show, Peacemaker is the only character from the Suicide Squad movie that didn't really experience that much change. And so that's kind of the purpose of the show. And I think that they wrote him perfectly. The moment you mentioned, that's one of my favorite moments in the show, is in episode 3 when he has the senator and his family like in his crosshairs and he could take him out. But he has that moment of hesitation, which starts to show that he's no longer wanting to be this dude who will kill men, women, and children to get peace at whatever cost. He's kind of realizing the weight of taking a life and kind of gaining a new appreciation for life in a way, like seeing it through a new lens. And I really think that he's so well written by James Gunn. He just understands this character. And John Cena's acting, again, like I mentioned earlier, pairing those together makes those moments hit real hard.
Yeah, I think the smaller moments like that, those are the ones that like hit deep, and it's like, damn, this is good. Stuff like that.
Yeah, like my favorite moment maybe in the show is in episode 4 when he's like drinking and like smoking weed and like thinking about his life. He's very in like a low point. Yeah. And you see like the flashback to his brother, and he's very vulnerable. I love that scene and the use of music and just John Cena's acting. He breaks down in that scene. That's probably one of the better in the show.
Speaking of music, what about the soundtrack? I thought it was great.
It's a bop. And I mean, we kind of know this at this point because James Gunn gives us Guardians, but like every single episode had like a signature song, and the way they used the actual like theme song, like Do You Want to Taste It, in a certain scene in the finale, like that was a major standout for me. Like that was a fist pump moment for me.
Okay, so we'll talk about that moment right now. And that goes into my next thought. I mean, this show is like, it's bloody, it's gory, I'm really happy that it went to that level. I mean, it's an HBO show and they let James Gunn do whatever he wants. And that's a big standout of the Suicide Squad was those darker moments. But that moment where they're all like kicking ass in the final episode, that was badass.
And it was shot wonderfully because there were moments where it looked like it was one take and there'd be some cuts. But yeah, the way that they walked kind of slow-mo, the music amped up and they just started mowing people down. Like that's the moment that I love. Like those are the moments I love in the show. It does not hold back. It's brutal. It goes for it. And that's kind of why I prefer it in a way to like some of the Marvel Disney Plus shows, because it is a more mature show thematically, but also like from the violence and the language and all of that. But it's not like it's just violent for the sake of violence. Like the butterflies are these real vile creatures. And I feel like it also is comedic how they're taken out at times. So I really like that scene a lot. And it was a standout in the episode and in the show.
So yeah, I know you mentioned that you really enjoyed the finale. I thought it stuck the landing really well, which I know shows have a tendency to not. necessarily do that, Disney Plus shows specifically.
Mm.
Yeah. So, what are your overall thoughts on the finale? We'll talk about the cameos in a second, but what are your thoughts?
I think the finale is the best episode of the show, and it sets up the stakes immediately. And what the finale does really interesting actually is it takes a character in Economos who is kind of a weak link of the group, in my opinion. He's the one like that you don't really care for as much. He doesn't have as much of like the standout highlight moments in the show. And they put him in the spotlight out of the gate when he has to go undercover as like the cop and walk up there. And then I think one of the better moments in the episode is when he has to like admit to himself, like, yeah, I dyed my beard, which is like a funny callback because that's something that's been recurring throughout the whole show. Yeah. But it also really hit when I forget the character's name, but like the bad guy cop, whatever you want to call him, the butterfly, he was like, humans can really be pathetic. And then it cuts to Peacemaker's face and he's like got a tear welling up. I never thought we would be sympathizing or feeling for Economos that much. And that just goes to show how much care James Gunn put in like every single member of this group. So that was a standout. But the finale, like you mentioned, there's some cameos that are really cool and unexpected. It's hilarious. It's got awesome action. And it was extremely satisfying. Satisfying.
They were kind of hinting the entire season at what the specific cameo would be. Or I guess on Twitter specifically, with the little emoji. So we kind of saw it coming, but when I saw like all 4 of the Justice League, not all 5, I was like, holy shit, they did it. Were you sad to not see Henry Cavill?
I knew we would never see that man again. Like after what they did in Shazam, they like showed like the upper half of Superman in the end of Shazam. Like I was like, we're never going to see this guy again. And it was a bummer that they even showed like a silhouette, but at least we got 2 of the Justice League members and we actually saw their face. And I was reading something right before I hopped on this Zoom call that apparently Ezra Miller shot like his scenes like on the set of Guardians 3.
I saw that. The Variety article. That was really cool. And he had had the idea of wanting to do Aquaman, and he was like, I don't know if they're gonna do it, but we're just gonna do it and see how it goes. And then they went along with it. And Jason Momoa was like laughing at the fact that Peacemaker is making fun of him for like sleeping with fish and stuff like that. I think the finale was really good, and that huge creature, I guess it was like I forget what Economos called it, but just a kaiju, that's what it was. That thing was disgusting.
Yeah, foul. And like it's so weird how James Gunn can make you feel for these weird obscure creatures though. Like even when they're gross, like what's the thing called, like Starro and the Suicide Squad, like he still makes it feel realistic in a way, even though it's a very otherworldly presence.
And speaking of the creatures, I wanted Peacemaker to just like step on that butterfly. What was his name? I wanted to,
Goff.
I wanted him to like step on that thing so bad, because I feel like, what if he like turns on Peacemaker? He could turn on Peacemaker any moment,
Yeah, and I feel like that's something they left kind of open, is like either the butterfly is gonna die because that's the last of like the honey substance that was there, or the butterfly is gonna live and maybe inhabit someone else. But they set up season 2 very well with they like didn't leave too many open ends, but they left just enough to make us want to come back.
For sure. And I thought like the ending shot of just like the 3 of them, well, I mean technically 2 of them because his dad was in his imagination, but I think that could transfer over really well to season 2. I wonder if I think that's kind of crazy that this guy is a Terminator and now he's in the Peacemaker TV show, but he was such an asshole. Like,
oh, he really was.
Like, I didn't know who the White Dragon was until I did research at the final episode, and I was like, oh, so he's like a KKK guy. That's nice.
Yeah, insanity. But he deserved death. I'm glad he died. But it's interesting. Perhaps the coolest aspect of Peacemaker's character going into season 2 will be the fact that like his father still haunts him, and I hope that they like tackle that. I think there's gonna be a lot of those like scenes where he's hallucinating, seeing his dad. That always is gonna haunt him, and I think we'll see that going in. And I'm glad that Eagly lived. Eagly, we need a Funko Pop. Funko, if you're watching this, we need an Eagly Pop.
I saw you tweet that, and I was like, he's damn right. I don't honestly. I feel like they would have announced it by now, but I don't know. I'm looking for the. I know you have it, the Peacemaker one. I need to get that.
Oh one. Yeah. I have it right there. Yeah,
it's badass. Yes, and Eagly, he is. I mean, Eagly might as well be the standout of the entire show. He was incredible.
Oh yeah. And, that goes, like I said, James Gunn, if there's like an animal in any of his projects, or like, like Rocket Raccoon, you love Rocket, you love Groot, like a creature. He just has a way of writing them to make them so lovable. And I think Eagly is another example.
Yeah, exactly. So what are your predictions for season 2, and what do you think they're gonna do next? Because James Gunn, apparently he hasn't. I think he has ideas for what he will do for season 2, but he hasn't written anything yet. So what do you think?
I would love to see some characters from the Suicide Squad appear, like maybe bring Bloodsport and Harley in. I know that's kind of a big ask for budget reasons, like having to pay those actors, but there's a little more story to tell, I think, with those characters, because they just kind of flew off in that helicopter at the end of the Suicide Squad. And I think they could somehow be incorporated into this group. But, Adebayo's at a good place right now. Economos, they're all in good places. So something's going to have to come in and like upset the status quo, as they say. Like, it's not going to be sunshine and rainbows forever. So I don't know what they're going to do. I hope that they stay away from the butterflies and like bring in a new threat, but we'll see. Maybe like someone from Peacemaker's past will come in to play. I'm not really sure. It's hard to say. I just want to see Aquaman in an episode.
Yeah. Who do you think James Gunn is writing that? Who do you think the character that he's supposedly taking to a new TV show? Who do you think it is?
It'll probably be Ratcatcher 2, but I would rather see Bloodsport, because I think Idris Elba is like one of the best actors today. I don't know if he could get on a TV show, just because I know he did that show Luther, I think, back in the day. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if he would do TV shows now, because he's such a big movie star.
Do you have any closing thoughts on the season?
I will say Peacemaker was, I think, the surprise show of the year, because I was skeptical going in. Like I said, Peacemaker was one of my favorite characters from the Suicide Squad movie, but I didn't know if the show could stick the landing, or like if it could be consistently entertaining and like emotional on a weekly basis. But it definitely, it exceeded my expectations. And when compared to the other superhero shows we're getting now, I'd say it's top tier. I would. And I prefer it to, I think, all the Marvel Disney Plus shows. I love Hawkeye. I love the Falcon and Winter Soldier, but this show had everything I wanted and more. And I think I just like the R-rated stuff, not just for the sake of seeing blood and guts everywhere, but I think it really adds to Peacemaker's arc. And this is the most well-written superhero show from Marvel or DC. Then there's The Boys and Invincible, which are like another category. Yeah. But The Boys, it's my favorite, not The Boys, sorry. Peacemaker is my favorite show of the year so far.
Yeah, and we're only, 2 months in? That's crazy.
Yeah, 2 months in. It's going to be, something's probably going to top it. Maybe Obi-Wan. But for now, Peacemaker is my favorite of the year.
Yeah. Well, Chris, I really appreciate having you on the channel. Let everyone know, where can they find you?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me on. This is a long overdue collab. I know I've been trying to make something happen for a while now. You can find me on YouTube at Filmstocked, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, TikTok. All of those are Filmstocked across the board. I love to talk about movies on Letterboxd. I don't watch a lot sometimes, but I do write reviews over there and log my movies. So make sure to check out Letterboxd. But yeah, if you're watching this, make sure to subscribe to Ben Meter's Reviews. Keep on grinding, dude. I love to see it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I had a really fun time doing this, and I hope we can do it soon. So Chris, thank you again for coming on.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
I'm going to give Peacemaker an A. Guys, I had a blast talking with Chris from Filmstock. Definitely make sure to go and check out his channel. If you're not already subscribed, what are you doing? Go check it out. His social medias, all that stuff's going to be linked down below. Go show him some love, and if you did enjoy this video, make sure to give it a like, as well as consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell to get notified whenever new videos like this go live. As always, look forward to more videos coming soon. My name is Ben, people call me Meter, and I'll see you guys in the next one.